and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And the first item on our agenda tonight is the assessor's report. And we welcome Ms. Lauren Elliott.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the BET. I'd like to present the assessor's report for July 2026. So as you all know, the tax bills were mailed on the 17th of June, and they are due back on August 3rd this year because the 1st falls on a Saturday. There were a number of certificate of occupancies issued since October 1st, and we've gone out and it will add an additional tax revenue of roughly $223,716 to this grand list year. Okay. We had one additional homeowner who had filed an extension with the Office of Policy and Management. So last month, you'll see that I had 188 applicants. Now we have 189 applicants that qualified this year, and it increased the benefit. Their benefit was roughly $3,400. So that's why that's still in there. It was adjusted from last month. One, I have apology. I forgot to update in the verbiage the June sales. It still says May, but the chart is correct. So in June, there were 65 sales, up from 54 from the month of May. Okay? Anybody have any questions for me this evening?
Questions from members of the board for Ms. Elliott?
Ms. Elliott, can I suggest that you comment on the number of appeals that we received for this reval, and put it in context just to give people a sense for, how this reval went in general?
So compared to the prior reval years, we have 98 appeals to date. I believe we have 68 commercial and 30 residential. In 2015, we had 166 tax appeals. In 2010, we had 134. In 2021, we didn't have as many. We only had 68, but I think that was partially because we just did the reval, right? It was during COVID. So we didn't actually have very many commercial tax appeals. We did have some residential appeals. Considering the amount of increase that we had this year overall in the residential and just in the overall grand list, I was happy to see it under 100. I really thought that was okay. That was pretty good.
Great, thank you.
Oh, if I may also say, what's interesting also is that out of the 30 residential, there's 12 that are repeats, and out of the 68 commercial, there's, I forget exactly, but there's a lot of repeat tax appeal. So we've seen these properties before. Okay.
Other questions of Ms. Elliott from members of the board? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Elliott.
Can I make a motion to accept the report?
Motion has been made by Mr. Alchak to accept the assessor's report. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
And seconded by Ms. Tarkington. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That's unanimous. The assessor's report is. Now, we are going to go into executive session on a matter of litigation. Unfortunately, those who are here, we're going to ask you to step outside. I don't expect this to be more than, 15 minutes, give or take. So don't wander too far, please. Ms. Erickson.
I move that we go into executive session at 6:34.
Motion has been made to go into executive session, seconded by Mr. Fisher. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That passes unanimously. Everybody, please turn off their mics.
I make a motion to come out of executive session at 6:41.
Motion has been made at 6:41 to exit executive session, made by Ms. Erickson and seconded by Mr. Fisher. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Not so unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the routine item approved at the, oh no, I guess that's not next.
So there's no vote on item 4. So we're moving to item 5, and I will move.
Do you have the mic on, Doug?
Yeah. There is no vote on item 4. I will move item 5, NW1, Department Nathaniel Witherall, an amount of $20,050, approval of use, funding from the Friends of Nathaniel Witherall.
I think that our Nathaniel Witherall friends are,
It's a routine item.
it's a routine. Oh, we're doing that later, sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next,
A second.
We have to vote.
oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Next item is the capital carry forward item for the Rounds Hill Fire Station. So I think there are, is it just the two of you that are here?
David Chess is here. Oop.
David Chaz was here.
Can somebody let him know that, please, that, Charlie, thank you. We erroneously said it would be 15 minutes. It was less than 15 minutes, given the efficiency of the board. Okay, so
Give you.
let's go to the Budget Committee, Ms. Erickson.
So the Budget Committee took this up at its June meeting with a number of other capital carry forward requests. These are two projects, 100,000 for design, another 4.650 million for construction of a renovated Round Hill Fire Station. The vote at the Budget Committee was 4-0 as a non-routine item. And we deferred this from the full regular BET meeting in June, so now it comes before us this evening.
Any opening?
Sorry, I feel the representative was here.
Here.
Oh, he's in the room? Oh, okay.
Everyone's on that side of the room for some reason.
Behind the,
Yeah, since we have both Mr. Chass and members from the fire department here, we would offer you the opportunity to make a comment if you'd like to make one. Let's start with Mr. Chass. You don't have to, there's no requirement, but since you are here, we would welcome that.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. At the last meeting, there was discussions of placing conditions on the carry forward of the funds previously allocated. We are respectfully requesting that those conditions be, that the idea of conditions be put on hold pending further discussions. We have quite a few conversations to have. We have quite a few people who are new on the BET who have not been through the last, unfortunately, 7+ years of this to understand some of the history. We were hoping to have members of the BET come visit the firehouse to see what the current condition is. And respectfully request that those be held over until the fall. We're obviously in a different budget position right now, so we're not going to be able to do anything over the summer regardless, and think that we will be in a better position to be able to have productive conversations without the imposition of conditions that we haven't really had a chance to discuss with the members of the BET.
Thank you, Mr. Chass. Mr. Fisher.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the opportunity to place the conditions only exists now since we are re-upping the appropriations. I don't know if we've put the item before us yet, but I would move that move the item to get it on the agenda, and then I'd like to speak to the condition.
I think the item is on the agenda, so,
Oh, is it, was it
No, I
moved?
think we're
Okay.
going to move the item to approve the capital carry forward.
Oh, okay.
okay, then somebody make that motion. Motion is made by Mr. Selbst, seconded by Ms. Tarkington. All those in favor of putting the item on the agenda signify by saying
No, I
aye.
meant putting it before us. It's on the agenda. Put it before us so we can discuss it.
Putting it before us. Thank you.
Yes, you don't have to vote on it yet. Okay, so I would like to move that the condition that was circulated to the BET be added to this carry forward. And I think for the public, it's important to read it if everybody will indulge me. The appropriations being carried forward related to the renovation project for the Round Hill Fire Station, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company Incorporated, hereafter referred to as RHVFC, are subject to the following conditions prior to the release of any funds. The BET looks to the first selectman and town administrator to implement two appropriations or as on the agenda, subject to release in whole or in part by the BET upon a satisfactory agreement between Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company and the town of Greenwich, including the following points. Office of the First Selectman issues a statement regarding what the current policy/approach is for the Round Hill Fire Station. Acceptance of the design by the Greenwich Fire Department, open access to on-duty career firefighting staff to the facility, approval if needed by the Town Planning and Zoning Commission, a report on fundraising by the Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company, approval by the town and the fire company on a first mortgage to be filed in the amount of the town's contribution to the project, a management agreement that includes an owner's representative and full oversight and authority by the town's Building Construction and Maintenance Division of the Department of Public Works, including a public bidding process for all aspects of the project. So I move that forward.
I'll second that.
The amendment has been moved and seconded. Discussion? Any discussion? Laura?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Mr. Chass just explained that right now the project isn't going anywhere because more funds will be needed. So I think there will be an opportunity to revisit this if and when they're ready to come forward with a revised budget. My concern with this is really one of process. I think placing a 7-part condition on an item that has already been appropriated in 2 past budget cycles plus an interim in fiscal '24 isn't necessarily a good practice from us, placing conditions on retroactively. Most of these conditions I don't have a problem with, and I think many of them, in fact, have already been met. I think we know the status of the fundraising. Planning and Zoning has approved the project. We have executed documents for terms and conditions for the receipt of grant funding. We have a mortgage agreement. I do expect some of these points could be discussed if some of those documents were reopened. I really strongly feel that number 3, open access by on-duty career firefighting staff, certainly can be worked out and should be worked out between the Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company as well as the Greenwich Fire Department. I have no objection to that. I just don't think it's our purview to dictate that. So that's really more of I think we're overreaching a little bit on some of these conditions. My preference would be as a routine procedural item to carry forward the capital forward items and understand that in the fall, I would expect a revised budget, perhaps an updated fundraising plan, and certainly the First Selectman's office, if they have any change in policy, that would be very appropriate to entertain. If we're going to pivot, I have no problem pivoting, making a different decision, but I feel like at this point in time, I would much rather treat this as a procedural item.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson. Any other comments? Mr. Deschamps?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Harry. It's your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt, I didn't.
Well, I'm going to support these conditions, but I would like, and so I want to put that out there. And mainly, though, I want to highlight the first 2, which is that the Office of First Selectman issue a statement regarding what the policy and approach is for the Round Hill Fire Station. I think that's critical. That's within the purview of the Office of First Selectman. I'd like to see that. That has not yet been provided. There's a matrix report that speaks specifically to backcountry and fire insufficiencies out there. And then second to that, acceptance of the design by the Greenwich Fire Department, which also is critical, as it's the chief's responsibility and the fire department's responsibility for public safety as it relates to fire matters. So those two are the most important. I do agree with my colleague, Laura Erickson, that this is a little bit of a lot of additional conditions, maybe before we've seen those first two conditions met, if you know what I mean. And so I'd like to ask the chief or assistant chief, if they're willing, to just give us some information on how you feel about these conditions. Are you willing to speak to these conditions for our benefit? Yeah, I'd like to hear what you have to say about them. I think it would benefit us because you're subject to the conditions. It's a firehouse. You have views on it. I'd like to hear what your position is on it.
Oh, sorry about that. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. It's nice to talk to all of you. We did speak before the Budget Committee earlier last month, and have spoken privately with David and Harry and Matt and other people. I just want, as a Greenwich Fire Department, I just want us to understand, we support everything we want to do to this firehouse. We do believe this firehouse needs to be renovated, okay? The conditions aren't up to standard, and I will never disagree with that. We also need to look at this firehouse as an opportunity to expand the Greenwich Fire Department and provide the best services to the people in the town of Greenwich. Not just, you know, in that area of town. That town is developing faster than we know, as we can see right before our eyes. I think it's most prudent for the town to look at this and look and strike while the iron's hot. You know what I mean? And understand that, yes, we support the Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company 100% as a Greenwich Fire Department, as the chief of this department, 100%. You know, we also need to look at the whole Greenwich Fire Department whole. And, you know, we want to better this fire service. We want to better this fire service for the community. We want to make the people safe throughout this whole town, not just, you know, provide the best services we can to the town of Greenwich with the Greenwich Fire Department.
I mean, to that end, if I could just ask, I mean, then you will work with Office of First Selectman to address these
Absolutely.
first two conditions? And
Yep.
when could we expect to receive the first two conditions to be met?
With the first, hopefully sometime, you know, between the end of the summer, or obviously before the fall, obviously before that meeting. You know, we'll sit down. We have a meeting with Kate and Fred, usually every month, so we'll start working with them. I spoke to you, we'll talk about maybe with you guys too, certain things we want to see, you know, with this project. You know, it's long overdue, but, you know, I think, you know, with it being delayed so much, you have an opportunity to do good things for that part of town.
And you'll coordinate with the volunteer corps there, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
They have strong views on this. And
Absolutely,
and so you
yeah,
guys will
absolutely.
work
We're not
together
gonna, yeah,
to-
we will sit down and work with everybody involved in this whole
Yeah.
project.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We're not gonna do something without talking to the people
Yeah,
around
that's-
Hill, saying, hey, listen, you only get,
mean,
you don't get a kitchen, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the overall, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, that, you know, the goal here is for us, the finance board is to finance projects that are
Right.
presented to us by department heads.
Yeah.
And this is a project that has been on our books, if you will, for a long
For
time.
a long time, before I became chief.
Exactly. And,
Yes.
but the way to address it is for Office of First Selectman, in consultation with you and the volunteer corps, to come up with a plan, present us with a plan so we can
Yep.
approve it or not approve it, as the case may be. I think what's here are some significant conditions in addition to 1 and 2, which we are basically signaling in a very significant way as it relates to a condition that we want to make sure is part of your plan.
Yes.
So it gives you that benefit of understanding what it is that we consider to be important, but it's for your responsibility to develop the plan along with the Office of First Selectman and tell
And
us
with the
what-
Brown Hill.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Yep, great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mr. Deschamps. Thank you, Chief.
Okay?
Other comments? Mr. Selbst?
Yeah,
Do we need Mr.?
yes, I have,
I'll stay.
I'm deferring to Steve. So thank you, Chief, for being here with us tonight. I want to address both Ms. Erickson's comments and Mr. Deschamps' comments. Ordinarily, I would find myself in agreement with Ms. Erickson about mission creep and the responsibility of the BET. And as Mr. Deschamps said, it's our responsibility to finance projects. It's not our remit to design or construct them. But I think the fact that these conditions are being asked for is a function of exactly what the chief identified, which is this project, for many reasons, has been delayed for a long time. And the use and development of that part of town is changing. And so I think that what the conditions signify from this board are a reflection of our concern that the responsible bodies, which includes both the fire department, certainly includes the volunteer fire company and the first selectman, come together and agree on a plan that's going to provide exactly what the chief said, which is the best possible protection for the residents of the community. And in light of that, then despite my ordinary reluctance to impose both retroactive conditions or oversight conditions that I think are too persnickety, I'm going to support Mr. Fisher's conditions for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Selbst. Other comments? Mr. Mr. Brown?
Just a brief comment that it hopefully sends a signal that we're interested in getting to a final answer. We don't want this to linger any longer.
Absolutely.
So that's our key, that to me is a key message. Thank
And
you.
so do we. It's been a
We're
little
with
bit
you
too
on
long.
that.
So do we. So because it behooves us to get together with the Round Hill members and start working on what we feel best work for all of us in this department.
I just want to reiterate one thing I think that you said, which is very important, is I think we should look at this in sort of a portfolio context as opposed to an individual project. We should look at this project in the context of everything that you do in the town of Greenwich to protect everything the fire department does, not just put out fires, but everything you do in the context of, your entire portfolio of fire stations.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's we're more than just a fire department anymore. It's kind of a misnamed organization now because we're an all hazards department. We do so many different things with the fire department, not just put out fires like it was 30, 40 years ago. So we do a lot of stuff. You see us in action with the storms, the flooding, car accidents, you name it. With a propane, underground propane leak 2 weeks ago. So, we have a lot. And this department as a whole provides a wonderful service to this town, and I'm proud to lead it. But I also think there's going to be some difficult decisions to make in the future, to keep the department running and as smoothly as it does.
I just,
I'm told. Sorry, go ahead.
no, that's okay. I don't really have a question for you,
Yeah.
but others might have. I just wanted to say in the category of going full circle, just because this project has been around since, I think, fiscal 2017, I just want to make the point that Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company was amenable to looking at some sort of joint career volunteer
Yeah.
firehouse back before the design was created.
Yeah.
Under a prior administration, we went a
Absolutely.
different route. I just want to acknowledge a little bit of history. We looked at acquiring a parcel from Fairview Country Club, building a different firehouse. That didn't come to
No, it
pass.
didn't work out.
So if we're revisiting that decision in the context of having a fulsome fire protection across our entire community,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fully on board with that. I just would ask that we do it expeditiously because I do think
I agree.
it's not fair for those conditions to remain as long as they have. And so we need to
Now,
act.
moving forward, we have to now, as an administration, the chief and that, we need to sit down and have conversations with all parties involved, with the Round Hill Fire Company, my administration, and move forward, what's going to be best for everybody.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the matrix study in it.
Yeah.
I know you've done a lot
Yeah,
of work.
we've done a lot in the matrix study,
It might
almost
be
all
helpful-
done,
It
except
might
for
be
this
helpful
is
to
the one
get
that's
an
not checked
update.
off.
It might
Right.
be helpful to get an update on all
Okay.
of those aspects at
Gotcha.
some point
Gotcha.
in the context of this. Thank you.
Any other comments? No? Seeing none? Yes, yes.
Thank you. Just want to add some additional comments because these conditions, this is the first time that we've heard these conditions being put forward. We had no advance notice of them being put forward. So I made a couple of notes here that I'd just like to share. With respect to numbers 1 and 2, I'm not sure what specifically is being looked for from the Office of the First Selectman. I think the plan has been in place for 6+ years. It was approved 6 years ago from Planning and Zoning. Building permit was issued. The plan has never changed in all of that time. The perspective in every conversation with the Office of First Selectman is the desire to move forward. So I guess I'm just wondering, what is it that we're looking for from the Office of the First Selectman, so we could better understand that.
I'm not sure we're the ones who should be answering the questions, but.
I would
but
agree.
A
A number of us have had discussions with the first selectman, and I think he's going to be discussing matters with the fire chief and the administration. And, I think, it's up to him to take the lead here. He is the fire commissioner in town. Yes, this project has various aspects that were approved. Planning and zoning did approve it, but, that's why it says approval if needed. And there may be changes that the town wants to make.
With respect to number 2, the design also has not changed in all of this time, and it has existed in both the Office of the First Selectman and in Fire Department admin for 6 years, and again, the plan has not changed. We did have discussions both originally in 2018 when we submitted the plan, but then again, and I believe it was, I have to double check my notes, but we did have a second round of conversations about career staff at Round Hill. We had about a half a dozen meetings with building construction as well as fire admin, and the plan was abandoned. The idea of it was deemed not realistic, and we moved on from that, and that was, again, several years ago. So we're happy to have the conversation again, but we've done it twice before. With respect to the third question, the access to the facility, there is a 70-year history of the way that Round Hill's worked, and just, again, because everybody hasn't been involved from the beginning, Round Hill Volunteer Fire Company is on private property and is a private building. Part of the issue with access has always been an insurance one, which is what we've been recommended from our insurance carriers, is something to be concerned about. We're happy to have those conversations. It was raised back in early June, and we haven't heard anything about that since then. But we have had problems in the past with people having access to the building, going through the apparatus, looking inside of offices and otherwise, and that's a concern for us on private property. With respect to number 7, which is it hasn't been discussed, but it's the one that is most concerning to Round Hill, is, again, what this is suggesting is that the town take, full oversight and authority of the project, which again is on private property in a private building, that will be responsible for maintenance after the fact. We don't believe that there is any precedent for the town running a project on private property. A conversation with a past town attorney suggested he wasn't even sure that that was possible for the town to do, but that's above my purview. Our concern is, it is our building, it is our property, we're responsible for it in perpetuity, that if the town is running that project, we then have responsibilities for maintaining it. We're coming to the BET for a one-time allocation in 69 years for this building, and we're going to then have to maintain it until the next 30 or 40 years down the road. And it's important for us to have some operational control over how that works as well. So again, there's a lot of these facts that we think would bear greater conversation with members of the BET with some history, and we would, again, respectfully ask that we hold on the conditions so we can have these conversations and make sure everybody has the same set of facts.
Thank you, Mr. Chass. Mr. Fisher, you wanted to?
No, I would just reiterate, I think, we want to have those discussions, and, those discussions ought to be held, and they haven't been held, and we're trying to push the matter forward. So I think that we ought to leave it at that. We shouldn't debate this.
Right, so let's call the vote. Did you want to say something?
No, all I wanted to say was the understanding of these conditions is it's not to release the funds until they're met. We can discuss the conditions as you come forward and you do the work we just described, which is you'll work with the chief, you'll work with the Office of First Selectman. If you are in fact correct that there aren't additional changes to the design or the plan, well, this should be simple work, right? But you also made the statement, which I think is important. You got new members of the BET here who aren't here in 2020. We want to see the plans. We want to understand the Office of First Selectman supports it. I want to hear that the chief and his department supports it. And frankly, I want to like to think that you'll support this as well. It sounds like a lot of these plans are already things you've vetted and you do support. So we should be able to get together the three parties I just mentioned, come to us, and then we have these conditions, which are really just a release of funding. Let's have those discussions, and then we'll move forward from there. Our goal, as has been stated by many of my colleagues, is to move forward a project that has been longstanding and is a significant amount of taxpayer money. It's $4.65 million, and it may be more than that, right? You've also stated that there may be some additional funding requirements here. So let's go about it the way that we're describing so that we can, in fact, complete the project as you're describing. I also want to take an opportunity to thank all the volunteer firefighters in this community of Greenwich and in Round Hill as well. As a former volunteer firefighter myself, I greatly appreciate your work, and thank you for your volunteerism.
Thank you. Could there be consideration to at least remove number 7 from the list, because that gives total control over to the town at this point?
No. So with Matt's comments, any other comments from members of the board? No, seeing none, let's call the vote. Well, let's do a roll call vote on
Yeah,
this.
I get it.
Mr. Fenton?
I'll start at that end. Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Bednar?
Yes.
Mr. Selbst?
Yes.
Ms. Tarkington?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
Mr. Weisbrod?
Yes.
Ms. Erickson?
No.
Mr. Pellegrino?
Yes.
Mr. Alchek?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vote carries 11-0, or 11-1-0, excuse me.
Thank you.
So now we vote on the item itself. Can we do this by a voice vote in light of the, all those in favor of the continuation, if you will, of the capital carry forward signify by saying aye. As amended by Mr. Fisher's motion. Thank you. Signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? None. So that passes 12-0-0 as amended by Mr. Fisher. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 7 on the agenda, the Controller's Report.
Good evening. Controller's report for the period from June 23rd, 2026 through July 20th, 2026. We're currently in the process of closing the fiscal 26 year end with early estimates indicating a general fund surplus of just over $2 million. Please note these figures are highly preliminary and results will be closer to final in early September. This timeline ensures compliance with governmental accounting standards, which require us to include relevant revenue and expenditure activity in July and August. The general fund invested cash balance on June 30th, 2026 was $149.4 million, about $7.5 million lower than June 30th, 2025, due mainly to timing of payroll. The one payroll had to be funded, one additional payroll was funded at the end of this year, of fiscal 26, and vendor payments. Interest earned on the general fund was $316,000 or 3.8% in the month of June. Fiscal year 26, $7.7 million, a blended rate of 4.02%. Fun fact, fiscal 26 prepaid taxes as of June 30th, 2025 were $53.7 million, and fiscal 27 prepayments as of June 30th, 2026, $54.7 million. Both of those represent about 12% of the total tax levy, so consistent prepayments. We're guessing most of those people think that the taxes are due then. Ronnie Rosh, our Senior Executive Account Manager for the town, with Gallagher, our insurance broker, the renewal, she presented to the Audit Committee on July 16th. Total premiums are well within the fiscal 27 budgeted amount. They did a lot of work with competitive bids, so they were successful in giving us a little bit of upside there. And the retirement portfolio snapshot as of June 30th, 2026 showed a positive return of 11.04% for fiscal 26, well above the town's discount rate of 6%. This will have a positive impact on the unfunded actuarial accrued liability and the ADEC for fiscal 28 and the next few years. We'll get a final number on that in October. The plan's market value was $753.5 million on June 30, 26, up from $693.2 million on June 30, 2025. The American Rescue Plan, again, quick update, it's mostly sewer. We have a plan they will be spending. There are a few other smaller amounts that we are working on making sure that those get spent appropriately before the deadline of spending 12/31/26, as you all know. External audit is proceeding, ongoing, and the internal audit, the current update, the next 3 audits will include the Griffith E. Harris Golf Course, the Student Activity Fund at the Board of Ed, and the School Lunch Program also at the Board of Ed. One other thing I just wanted to mention, you saw in your reports, and I also emailed it out, the Board of Ed did do some summer transfers. This is really FYI, one related to the fuel, because of the way that the town now fuels the buses versus the supplier. There was a transfer related to the Ham Ave water damage, and then some IT and IT-related funding that was transferred out of the special education budget. Along those lines, I just wanted to give a heads up, it's not actually in my report, but we are hearing, and you might be hearing, that the costs of servers, semiconductor memory, are doubling. So for example, in the police department, they had, they were approved to purchase VDIs, virtual desktop infrastructure. They were going to purchase 3 this coming year, three the following year. They've doubled in price. So either they're going to have to come here, or they're going to have to buy less. And you may or may not be hearing about this on the news, but I think this is just something everyone needs to be aware of, that anywhere where they're just the first, because they were looking to do it right away. They were trying to figure out if they can move budgets around, so that's why we're aware. But these are some severe price increases due to demand. And then lastly, just wanted to mention that, and we have an ongoing initiative in transitioning to the automated accounts payable, as you're aware of. And at the September meeting, we look forward to presenting the strategic short and long-term steps, goals, and objectives of this major modernization project. So we'll kind of give you the big picture, long-term and the short-term. That is it. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Any questions of our controller from members of the board? Do I hear a motion to accept the report?
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
Motion has been made
second it.
by
I'll vote
Mr.
to second
Olczak to accept the report, seconded by Mr. Pellegrino. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Next is the treasurer's report.
Thank you. I already mentioned in the controller's report about the general fund balance, the OPEB trust portfolio, the market value was $68.5 million on June 30th, 2026. That was a return, a fiscal year return of 16.76. That's up from a June 30, 2025 balance of 68 of, don't actually have that. I think it was 59 million. So, if you do look at the treasurer's report, you can look at cash balances in every fund. Since it's year end, just wanted to mention a couple of things. And Nathaniel Witherall has I know they're here, so I figured I'd mention the Vogel bequest is now up to $949,000. That's the original request plus earned interest. And the Affordable Housing Trust now has no ARPA funds in it, so they are not restricted anymore.
Questions from members of the board to Ms. Lynch relating to the treasurer's report? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Motion's been made by Ms.
And I'll
Tarkington,
second that.
seconded by Mr. Olczak to accept the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms. Lynch.
Thank you.
Which brings us to the item number 9, which is the BET Standing Committee reports. And the only one that's checked off is the Debt and Fund Balance Policy Committee. Mr. Olczak.
Thank you, Mr. Weisbrod. I just have a quick comment to make, which is that we postponed our vote on the capital projects that are going to be considered for longer-term financing than we're currently utilizing. And we will have, we intend to have that vote at our next meeting, which will be in September.
And I want to mention the standing language.
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, the language that we approved the language, I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but we approved the language that is being included in the reference manual I can circulate that. Leslie, I don't know if it is in the reference manual already. Okay, so we did approve that 4-0 at the committee.
Thank you, Mr.
Did you want
Olcay.
me to did you want me to mention the HR now, or the?
No, that's coming up in a
Okay.
moment. Just wait a moment for that. That brings us to the CMS Building Committee, which is the one item mentioned, checked off for the BET Special Project Team Report. Mr. Fisher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got some good news to report. Because the building was occupied, there was environmental testing that couldn't be done until school was out. And the good news is that we had reserved about $1,084,000 for abatement of PCBs if needed. The testing turned up 0. So we didn't have to use over $1 million won't have to spend over $1 million on any PCBs, which is great news. You may recall that in the $6 million appropriation, 1.6 was held back subject to release. Because of that and some other favorable minor things, we're not asking, we had expected to come before this meeting to ask for release of the 1.6. We're going to get into the fall. It's not to say we're not going to need some of that in the fall, but we can get to the fall without having to release any of that. Demolition of the old building has started. The media center's gone, which allows us to put in the road because that was on the footprint of the media center. The temporary fire equipment, the tanks and the temporary fire pump is progressing along. So we expect to be able to open the school, by August 22nd, I think it is. We've also authorized an incentive to Turner to try to beat that date. It's hard to get people to work overtime in the summer because they'd rather spend it with their family. So some of the workers are being told not only would they get overtime, but they'd get an incentive payment to work on Saturdays and Sundays. So Turner is confident that they can beat the August 22nd date. So we're well on our way, and we have a meeting tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. You can Zoom in if you like. And if anything significant comes out, I'll do an email to everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. That brings us to old business, where I turn it over to Ms. Erickson for the final read and approval of the BET reference book.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weisbrod. So just to recap, Joshua Brown and I serve on the Policies and Procedures Committee. We met in January to kick this off. We met again, I think it was in May. We've since worked through various standing committees to look at language and policies. Last month, we accepted the version as it stood, which significantly, we reordered a lot of things. The goal is to make it plug and play, that all committees will be assigned policies. When policies are revisited, reviewed, possibly amended, we swap them out, we update the footer with the date that it was reviewed and or amended. The idea being that all policies ideally should be reviewed once per term, or more often as necessary. So I really do want to give Leo Barisha our just a huge vote of thanks for all the work that she did. This was a bit of a beast, this document. So what I'd like to do, we have a couple of changes. I would note that the language that was approved by the Debt and Fund Balancing Policy Committee as the charge for the Standing Committee is included in this version. The Human Resources Committee met earlier today in a special meeting, so I believe we have some proposed amendments from them. Then Joshua Brown has a couple of comments, changes, a couple of Scrivener's errors that we're going to entertain amendment for those. And then I just want to make 2 comments on some substantive things in here. And then I think we're ready to vote. So I'm trying to be efficient.
Do we
But
need
Do you want me
Mr.
to
Elliott?
make a motion to include this language?
Yes, I'm assuming that the motion that it's on the table, the BET reference manual. We
Yes.
don't need a motion for that. So I
No.
would, if you could recognize Elliot to make,
Yes, I am happy to
on behalf of the
recognize
committee. yeah.
Mr.
And I think
Alter.
everyone has the language.
Yes.
Everyone should have this language in front of you. I'd like to make a motion to include this new language, and I'd like to ask Leslie Talkington to read just the change to the language, not the entire
Well,
piece.
first, do we
So
have a
I will
second?
second his motion.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Mr. Olczak, seconded by Ms. Tarkington for an amended language for the reference manual. Ms. Tarkington.
Yes, so for the first paragraph, the committee added the language to the third sentence that reads, "The Human Resources Committee shall have responsibility for developing recommendations for BET action within the scope of powers," and added as given in Charter Sections 217A and 217 and the budget resolutions additional provisions. And then it goes back to the original language regarding human resources and additional words in addition. Retirement administration, again adding provided in Charter Section 179 and any other applicable section. To the last sentence of the that same first paragraph, the Human Resources Committee concerns regarding human resources are monetary, therefore, adding the E, requiring an evaluation of, and adding the words, any changes in the table of organization, paren, TOO, close paren, and then continuing its fiscal implication on the town's budget and tax rate. And then in the final paragraph, the one sentence, the committee shall also consider interim requests for changes in positions and present its recommendations to the, and it was added, Budget Committee and returns to BET for its action.
And I also should mention that we voted in the HR committee earlier 4-0 to include this language in the reference manual.
So just for clarity, the amendment is to replace the language that's in the current page 6 of the packet on the Human Resources Committee with the language that you've proposed.
Correct.
Ms. Erickson.
Well, I think it's been moved and seconded, so I think we
Do
should
any
vote
more-
on that.
Oh, no
Unless
more.
there's more discussion.
Well, I guess we have to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment as made signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
All right,
sir.
Mr. Brown, do you want to put forth your changes?
Thank you for your leadership on this. I had a couple of minor changes on page 1 under the category of role of the chair. In the last sentence, the minority party may, but is not required to, designate a representative minority caucus chair. That word chair should be changed to leader to enhance communication among BET members. So just changing the word chair to leader. Further down that page, under the rules of procedure at meetings, any motion, once moved and seconded, is open for discussion among BET members, the chair, and the way it currently reads is, or questions addressed through the chair may recognize town officials, et cetera. My concern is that language, or questions addressed through the chair may recognize anybody to speak to help answer any questions or comment. It just, the questions won't automatically be referenced to anybody in the audience. It's really through the chair and their permission or their direction to elicit or get information. And so my suggested edit is to remove or questions addressed through the chair. The next change is on page 11 under the town attorney. Minor one in the last sentence. The town attorney meets with the BET Law Committee at its monthly meeting to address the law department, needs a T in there just to spell department properly. That was it. And then at the bottom of that page on 11, again, in the last sentence, the liaisons to the controller are generally deemed to be the chair, and the minority caucus chair should now read leader. So just to make that consistent. So that was the fourth change. And the last change is on page 22 in the category of May, and the timetable was to insert after RTM committee to put a slash and district meetings to provide information. It was added and included for the March-April meetings, which is a good suggestion, but really want to encourage district meeting participation as well to the RTM committee meetings. Those were my changes.
And I'll second your proposed amendment.
Motion has been made by Mr. Brown, seconded by Ms. Erickson, to make a series of amendments to the reference manual. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
All right, and then I just want to make two comments, just for good form. On page 14, under Policy and Procedure Committee Policies, which is where I put the general policies, under collective bargaining agreements for town employees now contain provisions for post-retirement cost of living adjustments, known as COLA. I've suggested removing the language subject to prior BET approval. The retirement board may provide post-retirement COLA to retirement benefits for retirees not subject to a collective bargaining agreement. And the reason I'm suggesting removing this, I'm really trying hard not to touch any of the language dealing with the charter. The charter does not necessarily give us this approval, and this hasn't been our practice, so I'm trying to conform our, our practice with what's happening. The retirement board often does approve COLAs, sometimes it's part of other collective bargaining agreements, I believe, and Joan Lynch is our comptroller, sits on the retirement board and certainly can inform us of those activities as they take place. So I just wanted to highlight that change. And then another change on page 24, Sewer Act policy. Ms. Tarkington had recommended some language making it clear that the sewer maintenance is the only truly pay-as-you-go fund. And again, in the category of I don't really want to touch the charter language, I would suggest that that's not a bad suggestion, but maybe something that debt and fund balance policy could take up at a future point to talk about how we finance the sewer maintenance and sewer improvement fund. So those were the two things I just wanted to point out. With that, I really want to thank everybody for reading it. Josh really gave it a very thorough review, which I appreciate because my eyes were starting to glaze over. And I think we are ready to, if there are no other comments or discussion, to take a vote.
Thank you very much. I do think we can do a voice vote on this unless there's any concern. So I would ask for all those in favor of approving the reference manual, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, and I'm going to take the chair's prerogative to embarrass Ms. Erickson in particular and Mr. Brown in particular. This is a monumental piece of work that has not been done for probably 2 decades. The thoroughness in which you led this initiative with you both, you, Laura, and Josh, and the way you ranged across the entire town, frankly, to reevaluate what's been in this manual is really an immense contribution. And the one person I'm going to also call out is Leo over there, whose work has been so instrumental in getting it all done. And so it's enormous. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. I promised I would embarrass you, and I probably did. So that takes us to new business. The first item on the new business is the Nathaniel Witherell progress update. So please, whoever from Nathaniel Witherell, we're fortunate to have you here. Join us at the front, and we're interested in hearing your presentation.
We thought there'd be strength in numbers, David.
We have the chairman of the board of Nathaniel Witherell, Peter Kelly, who's about to speak. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, David. And it's good to see everybody tonight. I want to make a few opening comments, and then I will turn it over to my team to talk about things in more detail. I think you all know Brad Radlebaki, who is our chair of our Finance Committee, Kelly Nardone, who is our Director of Finance, and John Mastronardi, who is our Executive Director of the Nathaniel Witherall. So with that, I do want to make a couple of comments. First, I want to say thank you to the board, because the special allocation that you all made of $700,000 for the piping project earlier this year at Witherall, I'm pleased to say is on target and on budget, will be completed by the end of October, early November, and I will not be coming before you again to ask for another penny on that project. So that, I want to thank you for that. Number two, I do want to say, and that's why we're here tonight, in talking about our budget, that I know that we've given information to you, and I would suspect that the board, that this committee, like the board of Witherall, are not pleased with the outcome for the 26 budget year. And we are doing a lot of work, and you will get that in this presentation tonight in terms of how to address that. The next comment I would make is I think many of you, if not all of you, know that the Greenwich Woods Long-Term Care Facility, which is located on King Street in Greenwich, has essentially, for all intents and purposes, closed. And we were able to accept 23 long-term resident transfers from that facility, and did that even with the pipe project that goes on. So no residents who referred to us by that facility and wanted to come to Witherall were turned away because of a lack of ability to accommodate them. So I want to take my hat off to our staff, who did a wonderful job in terms of both communicating with the Greenwich Woods folks, as well as making sure that all of those residents were safely transferred over to us. And the last comment I'll make, and then again I'll turn it over to Kelly and Brad in terms of talking about the financials, and then John about the operations, is I know something else that's on a lot of people's minds, and that is discussions we've had in the past, talking about discussions we're having now with the Waveney Life Care Network that is located in New Canaan, Connecticut. Waveney, like Witherall, is a long-term care and short-term rehab facility. They also have a hospice program there, and they have a hospice program that is virtual. And in fact, we have a contract with them, as we do with some other hospice providers, to provide hospice services at the Witherall. And it was really because of those discussions that were begun that we started talking about in more earnest fashion what the opportunities we see collectively between the Witherall and Waveney in terms of opportunities that would be beneficial to both organizations. And to that end, on the 1st of this month, we signed a mutual non-disclosure agreement so that we could share information with them about the performance of Witherall, and they could share information with us also. So that is in process right now. We will complete the list of required information that they asked for, including the results of the 26 budget year. We'll be submitting that to them along with some other issues in terms of operations and quality, and that will be presented to them by the end of this week. Our goal, once we've done that, and they again have submitted information to us, I will tell you that they are a very successful not-for-profit organization. They have a positive bottom line. They're a 5-star rated long-term care facility, which is something we all strive for. And also, they have a presence here in the lower Fairfield and Greenwich area. And one of the opportunities we see collectively between them and us is the opportunity to work together as opposed to competing with each other to our mutual benefit. So once the information is exchanged between the two organizations, our goal is to have a meeting with their CEO of the network, along with key members of each board, to start those discussions in terms of what the opportunities are. And I, for one, am as anxious as anybody is here, if not more so, to get those conversations going, because we see by the results of our finances here, we need to make changes, and we want to do them as quickly as possible. I will also point out that as you look at the finances and you hear Kelly and Brad present them, that our biggest focus is on the revenue, not the expenses. Not that I'm saying we're not focused on the expenses, quite frankly, we are, and I think that's one of the areas where we've made a significant amount of progress in the past year and a half. But clearly, the issue and the opportunity is on the revenue side. Now, the relationship, or I should say the transfers we've gotten from Greenwich Woods has given us, I wouldn't even call it a cushion. It's given us an opportunity to breathe a little bit more. But we know that the increase in our census of 20-some patients, 23 to be exact, is something that is a one-time event, and it's not something that is going to change the course of history at Witherall in terms of what our overall revenues and what services we provide. So those are some of the things I just wanted to give an overview on. One of the things that we are also looking at, and it was actually, I think, brought up, I think, by Mr. Kelly, who is not my younger brother, at the last BET meeting was, what are we looking at in terms of, are the services the right blend of services? And in fact, we're looking at that because we really have to understand, or we do understand, how the 202 beds have been used up to this point. But one of the questions we have are those beds properly allocated in terms of services, and are the numbers correct? So I want the BET to clearly understand that we are not simply thinking that business as has been usual since the inception of the Witherall is something that's acceptable on a long-term basis. So those are just a few comments I would make. I'm certainly open to any questions at this point in time, but I don't want to take up too much time. And I think I'd like to get into the presentation from both finance and operations. Where, oh, I didn't, I was looking around before, and John, I didn't look far enough. Gentleman in the back is Mr. John Anatharaj. John is our Director of Nursing Services. And John is somebody who we're really pleased to have here, not that we're not pleased to have everyone here. But John, you started, how long have you been here now? 4+ months. And he has already made some dramatic changes at Witherall in terms of nursing services, how they're structured, how the reporting relationship goes. He comes to us with a wealth of knowledge in the long-term care area, both on the clinical side and also importantly on the operational and financial side. So he understands these things, and we're really pleased to have John here. And I asked him to come, A, to introduce him, which I'm sorry that I didn't see him behind me. And number two, if there are any questions that he might answer to the BET, that he's here for that purpose. David?
Just one procedural thing. But as you get into the discussion, be mindful that this is, of course, a public meeting being videoed and distributed across. So when you mention the NDA with Waveney, we should be mindful of maybe the questions we ask or how you respond. But
yes, I'm glad you bring that up because, again, that is important. So I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, I'm very excited about this Waverly partnership. My other volunteer job that I'm aspiring to get has me in meetings with the Waverly crowd up in New Canaan. And they're very optimistic about their facility. And I was there at the ribbon cutting when they started the building of a addition of 30 to 35 new beds.
36 beds.
36 beds, yes. And they just speak so positively of this, and I'm so glad that we're getting together with them. I've listened to them speak, their CEO, about 5 or 6 times in various meetings. They're just very optimistic about their business, what they're running there, what they have. It's all privately funded. It's funded by donations. It's not funded by the town. And I'm really excited about this partnership because he's a good guy, too. He's a good fella.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that because I think that it really is important. And again, they are such a well-known entity. And again, we think that just like in the acute care sector over the years where individual organizations have gotten together in some sort of relationship, I'm not going to call it a partnership yet, but I think it's important that we understand there's a potential mutual benefit to both of us by having a much closer relationship. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Kelly, you can defer this question, but I know that the survey just took place recently, And I don't know if you have any top-level comments to talk about that.
Yes, I think John will mention that in his report, but yes, we did have the state come in 2 weeks ago, John?
They finished, exited on June 17th.
June 17th, on an overdue annual inspection in terms of the withdrawal, both in terms of our quality side, our operations, et cetera. So they both do that on the part of the state as well as the federal government. So we have the report back. John will talk about it in more detail. We have, the way the report goes is it's not final yet. In other words, if I would love to be able to say, and as a result of that, our star rating is X, but that's going to take some time. So John will report about that in more detail, but that did take place. So thank you for bringing that up.
All right, John, you want to proceed, or Kelly?
You can use that mic, Kelly.
Good evening. I'm pleased to present the key highlights of our fiscal year 2026 financial performance. Our total revenue for fiscal year 2026 is $28.6 million, which is $1.1 million less than last year. This represents a revenue shortfall compared to fiscal year 2025. It is a 3.9% year-over-year change. On the expenditure side, our operating expenses show a favorable variance of $856,000 against the budget, representing a 2.6% cost reduction. Compared to last year, our current fiscal year total operating expenses are only 1.6%, or $517,000 higher than last fiscal year. This 1.6% increase is within the normal range of salary and wage adjustment and aligns with the national inflation rate. Census. The fiscal year 26 average daily census is 161, which is below our budgeted goal of 182. However, we have seen census improvement in the month of July. Currently, July census has been up. July 17 had 173 census. We also have 23 new residents coming from Greenwich Woods in July. We are currently implementing plans to improve our census and payer mix, increase Medicare and private pay days. Medicare average reimbursement rate has increased from $747 per day from prior year compared to $795 per day in current fiscal year. It is a 6.4% increase. Therefore, increasing our Medicare census is our primary focus, which will help improve our financial performance. John, our Executive Director, will elaborate and provide greater details in operational performance. Oh, any questions?
Do you mind submitting that in writing after this meeting? Or do you just mind submitting, the prepared remarks?
It's the part of the package, the performance.
I know the performances, but you put some details in that statement that were not, at least in what was provided to
Sure,
us.
yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course.
David, question.
Yeah, Joe.
I just want to understand something. If I just understood you correctly, you said you had 173 occupancy in July, but that's also 23 from Greenwich Woods, so if,
That's inclusive of the Greenwich Woods.
it includes Greenwich Woods. I guess what I was getting at, if Greenwich Woods had not had the event that it had, you'd be at 150. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Hi. This question may seem nitpicky, but I'm trying to get at I'm trying to understand really how you're running your business during this difficult period. So I noticed that your maintenance expense has declined from $2,158,000 to $1,977,000 against a $2,070,000 budget. So what is maintenance expense? Are you cutting back on HVAC maintenance? What's in maintenance?
So generally, it's facility repair jobs for elevator or other repair performance, not related to capital expenditures. So we also have a new facility director, maintenance. He is great and he has understand in the industry and facilities, so he has been, ever since he came in and joined us, he has managing the budget pretty well.
Okay, so my concern is that you're not managing that number down as opposed to just having a better experience. Do you follow my point here? I mean, if a roof is leaking, you want to fix the roof before it does more damage. I just trying to get a handle on, are you cutting back on maintenance because your revenues are down and you're trying to show less of a loss?
I can give you the answer to that. The answer is no, we're not doing that. And the important thing, and Kelly brought it up, is that we hired a new director of operations. And to give you an example of what the difference is, I came before this committee the first time I was on the board and said, we have a $700,000 request to fix all the drain pipes. And that was information given to me by the director of operations who had consultants in to look at it. I then came back to this committee once again and said, oops, we were wrong by a factor of 100%. We need $1.4 million. And the situation we have now is that we have a new director. Things are on budget. I think things were vastly out of whack before, for lack of a better term. In fact, I think if you take a look at the facility today, you'll find that the maintenance in terms of upkeep, painting, normal everyday maintenance is being done correctly and in a much more cost-effective way. So I'm not concerned for a minute that we're doing anything but better than we were before.
David? Thank you very much. Ms. Kelly, I had a question around the difference between the 26 budget and the actual budget variance. And the largest change is related to private pay. It's about half of what was budgeted. And I think if I heard you correctly, that Greenwich Woods, the patients will be largely Medicare patients. And I'm just wondering.
No, correct that there'd be Medicaid patients.
Oh, Medicaid
Yes.
patients. Ooh,
Yes,
ooh,
yes.
got it, difference. Okay, thank you. I didn't hear that correctly. So I'm just wondering why, because it looks like the private pay is down, substantially from the budget. And I'm just wondering why that's so much down from what had been originally budgeted. It's down by, it's about almost 50% down.
Demographically, we will prefer to have more private paid patients, and many people or residents do come in as private pay, but they spend down. And for a number of months, a period of time, they would become Medicaid patients. So preferably would be in a perfect scenario to have more private paid residents.
I'd just like to follow up on, or did you have a follow-up?
Oh, no.
I'd just like to follow up in the context on private pay. So putting the 26 budget aside, if you look over the last 4 years, private pay revenue has gone from, call it, $9 million to $4.5 million, and it's down consistently about $1 million each year. As you look forward to FY27, what, if anything, do you expect to either reverse that trend, stabilize the trend? Because it's not just that it's lower, it's that it's been a consistent multi-year trend lower.
Yeah, I think the private pay trend is one that has been going on in a lot of long-term care facilities like Witherall, because we're competing with the Edge Hills of the world and the other very expensive facilities that provide services we may not. But in general, private pay has been going down. I'm differentiating now between Medicare and private pay, people who have the financial wherewithal to actually pay for their services, which is what falls into the private pay arena. And we need to be competitive in that area. We need to invest in the facility to make it competitive, which we have limited resources of doing, but we are going to do that. I know that the Vogel Fund was mentioned earlier in terms of what the balance is there. And our intention is to use those dollars judiciously to upgrade the facility to make us more competitive and more attractive to private pay. But to answer your question, I do not see a major reversal in the private pay for the coming fiscal year. The focus we have to look at now is on what are our other opportunities to generate Medicare income. And that is in the short-term rehab side, as well as some of the long-term care where we can do Part B services to our patients.
Peter.
I better stay here.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. I appreciate the efforts you're making in terms of finding other ways in which to find opportunities, let's say, for the Witherell. But I want to go to the core of the matter. You're down to occupancy of 150 beds. What's your game plan? What's the kernel? What's the kernel of your game plan to start turning this thing around financially?
Well, I think there's a couple of kernels, if I may, Joe. I think the first one is, again, I don't want to go into more details in this forum because I don't have them now, but clearly the discussions we will enter into with Waveney are critical in this regard. Again, they are a demonstrated success story in the voluntary not-for-profit arena, which I think is important for us. But we have to get into those discussions. But to give you other specifics, there are opportunities, and I want to turn it over to give some. You'll hear it in John's report. In terms of other services we have been providing, we have regular meetings with leadership of Stanford Hospital. We will have regular meetings with the relatively new leadership of Greenwich Hospital now. And we need to understand and be able to provide services that hospitals are looking for to discharge their patients in a timely fashion, because hospitals struggle with a different problem than we have. We want to hold on to patients for long-term. Acute care facilities, which is where my career was, want to discharge patients in the most timely fashion. And that depends on a closer relationship between acute care facilities and our facilities. Traditionally, acute care facilities and long-term care facilities have looked at each other not as adversaries, but they're a pain in the neck. Why are they sending their patients to us and from the nursing home, and then the nursing home says, why are they sending it back so quickly to us? Because they're still sick. So we're having discussions with the hospitals right now, Stanford particularly, because we just have a closer relationship. The leadership has been there a longer period of time. We'll have the same with Greenwich and with Norwalk, by the way, and even to a lesser degree with White Plains, but that's further down the road. To really say in terms, and John will talk about it in his report, what are the services we can provide that will help you get your patients safely out of the hospital into a facility, because they've got now, it gets to a point where somebody's in the hospital, if they've got COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, there's the acute care side of it, but then once that's done, the hospital doesn't get paid for anymore. But so we have to provide that, which we're doing in our COPD program. But things like infusion for antibiotics, starting IV lines. Right now, we have outside service do that. John, our new director of nursing services, trained our nurses so that we can do that. That will be substantial savings for us. So we're looking at the clinical aspects of what we need to do in an environment where long-term care facilities have to provide higher degree of care to sicker patients on the long-term basis, and that's what we're focused on. But again, I think the other significant opportunity is there an opportunity, and we believe collectively there is, between us and Waveney, to look at the bigger picture, because Greenwich Woods is closed. Now, that means that those patients are going someplace, and we have to be competitive to be able to accept them.
John, should we segue to you?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to touch on some of the things that were previously said and shared with everyone here and get into a bit more detail. As far as census and financial performance is concerned, as previously stated, following the closure of Greenwich Woods, we admitted 23 residents, increasing our census from 147 on June 9th to 172 on July 17th. The June average daily census was 151.6, and the July average daily census through July 17th is 164.2. We continue to focus on improving our financial performance through overtime management, expense control, and operational efficiencies. I'll get into now a bit of the strategic service line expansion that was touched on previously. Our strategic focus is to expand specialized clinical programs that allow us to care for more medically complex Medicare patients. These initiatives improve quality while generating stronger reimbursement. As previously mentioned, IV therapy, our nursing staff is now IV therapy certified, allowing in-house IV antibiotics, hydration therapy, and TPN, which is total parenteral nutrition. It's a method of delivering complete liquid nutrition directly through an IV. Benefits include faster treatment, fewer hospital transfers, and approximately $350 in savings per IV start, and expanded Medicare referrals. Also in line with our service array expansion is COPD program, which Peter mentioned, trach care, and TPN. These programs address regional shortages, increase Medicare admissions, improve reimbursement, reduce readmissions, and will improve outcomes. We're currently working to negotiate a contract with the American Heart Association for AHA certification. We're pursuing that heart failure and stroke rehabilitation certification to strengthen hospital partnerships and expand our referrals. Sepsis and early detection intervention. At Stanford Hospital's request, we're developing a standardized program to identify and treat sepsis early. The program standardizes screening and intervention, reduces avoidable hospitalizations, improves outcomes, supports higher acuity Medicare admissions, and strengthens our partnership with Stanford Hospital. This initiative enhances resident care while supporting long-term financial sustainability. I'll talk a bit about the annual Connecticut Department of Public Health survey. The annual survey identified 17 federal citations, and in case you're wondering how that compares to the 2024 survey results, there were over 21 citations. None of these reached actual harm or abuse, many involving documentation procedural compliance or isolated issues rather than systemic deficiencies in resident care. We have implemented corrective actions where appropriate and requested an informal dispute resolution, also known as an IDR, for several citations where we believe the evidence does not support the findings or assigned scope of severity. So out of the 17, we are disputing 7. And just to give everyone an idea of an approximate timeline, John submitted our POC today, actually, right before we came to meet with you good folks, and that usually takes about 2 to 2.5 weeks for the Department of Public Health and CMS to respond to it, on average. The wrinkle here is that we are IDRing, we are disputing 7 of those 17 citations. That could make this go on for at least 3+ months, just to give an idea. But we do think that we're on strong footing as far as disputing those, and we're preparing our package to submit to CMS and to the DPH.
Can I just clarify, POC, Plan of Correction?
Plan of correction,
Thank you.
yes. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yes.
Does the withdrawal have an expectation as to whether they, as a result of this inspection, your star rating is going to change, and if so, to what degree do you expect it to change?
That firmly depends on how we make out with what we're disputing. Because the tags, the F tags, which are federal tags, they range from A, which would be the lowest, and you really wouldn't get it wouldn't affect your star rating, up through I, K and I. So we have a G tag that we're disputing. That one could adversely affect us. I would say, just to answer your question, I would think at the least we would go from an overall 2 to a 3, hopefully a 4.
Thank you. John, when you came before us in the February Budget Committee meetings, you presented a plan that was to grow the head count from 150 to 170 or so. Part of that plan certainly wasn't the Greenwich Woods closing to increase the number, but that fortunately happened in a positive way. But we also mentioned, at what point do we take a different approach? If the head count drops below a certain number, when would you suggest a different approach? And I'm curious to see where that number is, and if you thought about that as we asked you to do in the Budget Committee meeting.
I have certainly thought about it, and I believe that we're already beginning to execute that approach. It's slow going, but the programs that I mentioned to the committee, those are Medicare funded programs. So Medicare, as you know, is a reliable payer, the most reliable payer, and the Heart Association and the sepsis program, and certainly, as Peter had mentioned, starting talks with Waveney, those are forays into not sitting on our hands waiting for something to happen. We're actually starting to take steps to initiate partnerships and collaborations, as I had mentioned, with Stanford as well. Stanford Hospital, the sepsis early detection and intervention program, and the COPD program, those are direct byproducts of talks with Stanford, in which they've said, this is on our wish list. If you do this, we will send you more patients, more Medicare patients, if you're willing to take our complex cases.
I guess maybe the questions, I thought they were clear when we made them in February. But I guess when I said the declining number, at what number do we take a different plan of action, not to change our optimistic plan to fix what's broken, to make a plan to possibly consider stopping burdening the taxpayer with the amount we're burdening him with every year, it seems. I see Peter's jumping up there to answer that one. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the hot seat, Peter.
No, thank you for the question. And I think it's an important one, and we're doing that now. I'll give you an example. One of the things, we've got, our beds are 46 short-term beds and 146 long-term beds. And that's the way it's been for so long. One of the things we're looking at now is a hospice program now, and converting some of those beds. Now, that is a very, very important program. There aren't enough inpatient hospices. It would be a financial benefit. Here's the problem. It costs money. To convert beds to a hospice unit, or to make a hospice unit at at the Nathaniel Witherall. And the normal mix, just in terms of nurses ratio, et cetera, is about 12 beds is the right number. But that 12-bed unit could cost $1 million. So, we've got to take a look at what we can do near term to scramble, for lack of a better term, to get those Medicare patients that John talked about with programs that we can do and are cost effective, but we have to look at the long term. And I know I'm not answering your question the way you want me to, but the fact of the matter is, if we come to a point, because Brad has brought this up on several occasions, and we're looking at it, is our bed overall number the right number? And I think that's what you're driving at in this questioning and the one in the last time, which is a reasonable one. We haven't gotten that number yet, but I can tell you that we don't want to burden the taxpayer any more, because I'm a taxpayer, than you do. But we can't turn the ship around overnight. Healthcare just doesn't lend itself to that. So that's really the problem we're facing. But again, I think I don't want to keep talking about Waveney, because we haven't even gotten past the non-disclosure information we're exchanging. But we feel very strongly as today, if there's a facility in the area that's approximately the size of ours, a little bit smaller, but they're adding 36 new short-term beds, can be successful. We have a mutual agreement that this could be, and they don't get a taxpayer nickel at Waveney.
Now I'll conclude. I've had too much time already, I'm sorry. But I'll conclude with, I guess, what I'm kind of pushing for, and I think you know what I'm kind of pushing for, is not pushing for, but asking the question, at what time do we not try to look at an optimistic approach at it and look at a different than optimistic approach at it, and sort of a situation that could possibly stop the bleeding?
Well, are you talking about closing? Is that what you're saying?
Those are your words, not mine.
Well, I was asking what your words were. 'Cause I got my hearing aids in, but I wasn't quite sure.
I think you know what I'm leading towards, but it's hard to say, hard to do. I don't know the business very well, but it seems like it just keeps burdening the taxpayer time and time again, and there's no plan in the other direction. There's only plans that have not come to fruition, and for optimistic plans, and is there a alternative plan?
We haven't come to the pessimistic plan yet, Joe, but I will say, and I said this in a meeting that David had with a few of the other BET members, and a couple of us a month ago, I'm understanding the fact that the town of Greenwich has been picking up the slack for a long time. And when that question is raised, I said, well, I understand that, but why was it tolerated for that long a period of time without the question being asked? So we're asking the question ourselves now. And I feel that we have a board and leadership now that's full in terms of the different positions. You can see just in terms of having the right director of operations here. I mean, I look at the embarrassment of what was presented to this committee before, and now we have competent people there. We have a competent leadership here. We have a competent board now. And I expect that competent board, myself included, to maintain the rationally optimistic approach before we have to go to the pessimistic one.
Thank you, Peter.
I have one quick question, then we're going to go to Mr. Fenton, then Mr. Pellegrino. How many beds from Greenwich Woods were available? In other words, when they shut down, how many beds were there in total?
At Greenwich Woods or?
Greenwich Woods.
I don't think do we know that, John? It's kind of.
So my question is, we got 23, is that 50%, 80%, 20%?
Well, it's hard to say, David, because, Brad Markowitz and I met with the ownership of Greenwich Woods when this process first started, before they started even getting the approval to close down. And our impression was we did not walk around the facility, that they were already closing down in terms of delaying admissions. And I believe that when the approval from the state to close was there, I think they had something in the area of 50 residents, John. So it was a very small number, and The only residents we're aware of that did not come to Greenwich, and most of them are Greenwich residents, which is a good thing, are residents that may have been from an area further away that they did not want to come down here. So I believe, just over the conversations I had with the owners there, that we got the majority of them.
Sure. I guess just a first comment, then I had two quick questions. Just from a strategic point of view, I appreciate kind of you sharing and hopefully what potential alternative options can be considered, be it with wherever things may go with the Waveney discussions or alternative paths, and would love to continue to understand kind of, or how the board is thinking on potential strategic options for where Witherall goes. And then to two specific questions, kind of by Joe talking about the budget committee. If I'm looking back to the budget we approved, earlier this year, that was presented to us in February. So we're 6 months on. I think if I look at the numbers then, you all were budgeting revenue about $31.4 million. That's about 10% above where you came in for FY26. What is your updated expectation for revenue?
Kelly, do you have that? Or John?
2027.
Correct.
So may I get back to you in terms of more detailed? I don't want to promise you a number that is not supportive.
Okay. And probably then it will be so 32.1 million of costs approved in the budget was 34.0 million. Just if we could get an update there as well as to best estimate for fiscal year 27, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, Peter, I just want to go to a different topic. I think I understood you say that you want to try to fill more beds with Medicare patients, is that correct?
We want to attract more Medicare
And I
patients.
guess my question is, where are those Medicare patients?
Well, the
No,
Medicare
but
patients,
where are they out there? And I want to go to your census, and I want to understand the rationale for Witherall.
let me,
Okay, go ahead.
let me clarify. It's not so much more Medicare residents as Medicare services, because long-term care residents are all Medicaid or private pay. Medicare does not pay for long-term care. So on the long-term care side, the benefit to Medicaid is that, and the same thing in acute care hospitals, we don't make money on them, but it's a cash flow issue. So we know we're going to get a check, the first of the month, just like with Medicare.
Yeah.
But with the Medicare side, the opportunity is in the short-term rehab side, and the opportunity is also in providing specialized services that Medicare does pay for, but are adjuncts to long-term care. So it's a little bit complicated. I'm not trying to, throw smoke at you, because we only met last meeting, but I know that's not a good idea. The fact of the matter is, what we're looking at is, what are the Medicare services that are the opportunity, and it's more on the short-term side, or the specialty clinical service that Medicaid pays for as an adjunct to Medicaid.
I think I understand what you said, and I'm not going to profess that I really do understand your industry, because I don't. But what I'm really getting at is understanding the rationale for why the citizens of this town have supported Nathaniel Witherall for so long. And I may be wrong, and you can correct me, but I believe it's because they believe that the population there, whatever you call it, census, the beds, are filled with lifelong Greenwich residents. And I'm really curious now about that question. Because what I'm hearing is, in order to fix the problems, you need to go further afield from just old timers, old Greenwich residents, lifelong residents. They could be 1, 2, 3, 4 generations here. What I'm hearing you really say is, no, that's not what we're really populating Nathaniel Witherall with anymore. In order to solve our financial problems, we're going to try to figure out how to run a business that goes way beyond Greenwich, way beyond our town's residents, and start running a business that is for a larger audience. Now, I may be wrong, but that's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, no, you're not wrong. You're right. And I would change the term a little bit. I'm not looking at it as expanded business. I'm looking at expanded catchment area to provide clinical service that patients need. Because if there were enough residents in Greenwich who needed the service we provide, our beds would be filled. But the fact of the matter is that Medicare, Medicaid, things have changed a lot in terms of what is paid for and what's not. There was a time when Medicare would pay, I think, 120 days for a long-term care stay before it converted to Medicaid. That doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So the whole financial picture of terms of how insurance companies, and I'm talking about Medicare and Medicaid on the federal side and private, pay for things and the amount of time they'll allow a patient or a resident to stay in. So we have to go further afield, but look at hospitals. How many private hospitals closed because they didn't have the resources or they didn't have a larger catchment area? We're not doing anything different than the acute care sector did years ago.
Peter, I don't want you to think, I'm not being critical of your
No, it's fine.
strategy, because I think you don't have a choice but to do what you're doing, and I get that. What I'm more concerned is, are we talking about 1/3 of your patients now are Greenwich residents and 2/3 are not? I mean, I just don't understand that equation anymore. That's what I'm concerned about.
85% are either Greenwich residents or related in some way to have.
I don't want the related portion. I don't want that. I want to know who's there that has lived in this town for a significant number of years.
Well, maybe a significant number of years, it might be a year.
That's not a long time.
Well, but if somebody is.
I'm just curious.
If somebody's
You don't wanna
85 years
disclose that,
old
that's fine. I'll pass. I don't wanna keep
and
this
their
going.
relative has moved.
You've
to
answered my question. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Good.
Okay, so, Sally,
I just want,
Oh, and-
sorry.
go ahead, Sally.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm one of the new people on the BET, and I worked in healthcare for many years on the finance side, so I have a little bit of a sense of all of this. But what I see as the new member is a $5 million loss. There's about 5,800 households in Greenwich. I mean, that's about $800 a household that would be burdened with the cost of withdrawal. And I just want to put that into perspective for everybody, that it's a significant number. And I was on the RTM for many years, so I got some background on withdrawal through the RTM. But I just want to put that into perspective, that it's about $800 for a household, and that's a big number in this environment. The 5 million loss.
Thank you. John, do you want to say more in your, I didn't want to, I didn't want your presentation to be curtailed.
No, I had wrapped up.
You had wrapped up?
Yes.
Okay, so I think, Josh?
Just a quick question through you. If we can get the comments that were made by John, as Doug had asked from finance, if we can get those from the operations side, that would be great.
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you, Josh. So I would just like to wrap this up with a quick comment of mine. There are obviously a lot of questions coming from this board, and there have been for a while, relating to the strategic direction of the Witherall and the role that we on the BET can play to evaluate that and perhaps help direct it going forward. And so we need to engage among ourselves on the BET to put together a committee or use existing committees as they may exist, perhaps the liaisons who have been working very closely with the management and board of the Witherall to partner to get some better sense amongst us as to the strategy and direction as we go forward. So we'll work on that together as a BET over the summer and perhaps have some further ideas about that in the fall. With that, I'd like to go to the next topic on the, I'd like to thank the team from the Witherall for appearing here this evening and for making this presentation. And we recognize your dedication for sure. And thank you.
And if I just make a closing comment, I do want to thank both Harry and Stephen, who are the liaisons, who have been working closely with us, and we would welcome any support because we do have a lot of meetings going on and we get a lot of information, so we'd welcome that.
Much appreciated, Peter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
The next item on the agenda is the budget strategy guidelines. I will turn to the head of the Budget Committee, Ms. Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Weisbrod. On behalf of the Budget Committee, I wanted to present a document entitled Budget Preview and Strategic Guidelines for Fiscal Year 27-28. This is something that we took up at our meeting last Tuesday. By way of background, this really came out of our budget discussions during the fiscal 27 budget process. There were a few things that we identified as a committee that we felt needed a little more lead time for departments, and this intent is not to, the intent of this document is not to replace the traditional budget guidelines, which we do expect to have a first read in September, but really to augment them. Really, we're asking departments, BOE, and appointing authorities to look at 4 items. The first of which is really to define their core mission and really to look at their staffing model and how to optimize how to achieve their core mission. Obviously, our employees are our largest investment and the biggest budget driver. We're looking at various other things in that category. I'm not going to go through all of them. And it became clear during some of our budget reviews that a number of departments which generate fees or have the opportunity to get grant revenue haven't really always looked at that proactively. And so we're asking department heads who do get fees or grant money to really take a look at that, especially if there's lead time. Some of them involve RTM ordinances, for example. We're asking departments to identify targeted investments that may pay off. And we've identified a couple of possibilities. And we also asked department heads to really take a look at how they've been spending their money and not just necessarily add an increase year over budget, but really to look at actuals. And I do want to say that I want to give credit to Doug Fenton, who started the ball rolling with this document. I also want to give thanks to Joe Kelly and Harry Fisher, who had provided input that was incorporated before the Budget Committee reviewed it last Tuesday. It did pass the Budget Committee 2-0 with 2 abstentions. And at the time, we talked about potentially beefing up some language as it related to AI. So I believe, Mr. Fisher, you might have an amendment. Everyone should have a hard copy of the amendment. But I believe you're going to offer an amendment to the document.
Yeah, excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, you've all got before you a copy of the memo, July 20th, 2026. In black is what was passed by the Budget Committee last week. And we're moving that we add the red sections on the first page and the third page to help, on the first instance, get some deliverables in here, to ask them that they, have presentations prepared and submitted for the 2028 budget reviews. And in the third page, that they work more with the AI task force, which is still in process. But we believe before the budget guidelines document comes out in October that we'll have a lot more information from the AI task force. So I would move those additions to the memorandum.
And I will second.
Thank you very much. A motion has been made by Mr. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Erickson, to amend the budget strategy guidelines as approved by the Budget Committee. Shall we do this? Let's do this with a roll call. Oh, Mr. Selps.
So the second sentence on the first page, the one that begins with the phrase "we request," that the following phrase, "in accordance with the First Selectman's AI Task Force Initiative," is a parenthetical phrase, and it should be set off by commas. There should be a comma after the word "request," and there should be a comma after the word task force initiative. So I would ask Mr. Fisher if he would accept that amendment to clarify that.
I do, and thank you, Mr. Selps.
So I think the amendment is restated by you to Mr. Fisher to include those 2 commas.
Correct.
Thank you. Ms. Erickson, are you okay with that?
No objection.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Fenton?
Sure. I'd actually, because we moved to the amendment first, but I would just like to talk about a bit about the genesis of this. These guidelines were built on ideas that began on this dais, shortly since were sworn in. There were conversations ongoing through the budget process across party lines, and we got input from across town hall. We received feedback from across the BET. We sought it, we received it, considered and incorporated into the preview. And we think that a lot of these steps represent a fiscally conservative path forward for Greenwich, its residents, and its taxpayers. I'd also really like to emphasize that this is a first step. The document should aid the Office of the First Selectman and appointing authorities, department heads, as they begin discussing next year's budget with the departments. And it should provide a clear outline for the discussions we as BET liaisons will have in the months ahead. By establishing expectations now, we empower department heads to build their budgets with confidence, knowing exactly how it will be evaluated. To this amendment of the framework, I just want to comment on the first statement here. And I've mentioned these to folks before, but the AI Task Force initiative is still in its infancy. We do not know what I have not been told, or I'm not sure we know, what the expectations of that task force are. And so to ask department heads to put reports that are aligned with a task force initiative that is in its infancy, to me, aids to slow down the process slow down the outcome without kind of an obvious step forward. Everything else that was discussed in these lines are discussed in the line above or the line below in terms of what we expect proposals to prioritize, and making sure resources are deployed for high quality services effectively and efficiently. So I will be voting against this amendment. I do appreciate the feedback and the conversations that have been had about it, and that's what I have to say.
Mr. Deschamps.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to further my colleague, Mr. Fenton's comments, I just want to ask, this is not a new question. I've asked my colleagues this prior to being on the dais this evening, but was this language and this concept, particularly related to the presentations, shared with the chair of the AI task force? And is she,
Yes.
is she comfortable that this can be accommodated?
Yes.
Okay.
Other comments, questions? No. Shall we?
All question.
Well, let's do this with roll call vote, starting. Mr. Fenton, you got it?
We're voting on the amendment.
We're voting on the amendment. Thank you. This is a vote for the amendment, and then it'll be followed by a vote for the strategic guidelines subject to the amendment, if the amendment passes.
So this is the vote on the amendment. I'll start with Mr. Brown.
To amend, aye.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Alchek?
Yes.
Mr. Pellegrino?
Yes.
Ms. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Weisbrod?
Yes.
Mr. Deschamps?
Yes.
I'm a no. Ms. Tarkington?
Yes.
Mr. Selps?
Yes.
Ms. Bednar?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
That passes 11-1.
11-1. Let's do now a vote on the strategic guidelines. Let's do a roll call. Again, Mr. Fenton, please.
Yep, starting with Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Ms. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Selps,
Yes.
Ms. Tarkington.
Abstain.
Abstain. I am a yes. Mr. Deschamps,
Yes.
Mr. Weisbrod,
Yes.
Ms. Erickson,
Yes.
Mr. Pellegrino,
Yes.
Mr. Alchek,
Yes.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Okay, that passes 11-0-1.
Terrific. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the Commission on Aging report. That's a written report only. I don't think any action is necessary. That leads us to the next item on the new business, which is the first read of the ethics policy. I'll talk to that. Ms. Tarkington, I will talk to that. In the packet, I believe we have the conflict of interest policy as presented by the Board of Ethics of the town. Many of us have been participants in a workshop run by the head of the Ethics Board, Paul DeBarry. Some of us attended this on a video. The video is available for those who did not attend. It's available through Leo, I believe. One of the things that came out was that if the BET were to adopt a conflict of interest policy, which is what's in the packet tonight, it would enable us to set in motion procedures that would give us effectively a safe harbor in the event that a potential conflict item came up for any member of the BET. So this is a detailed policy. There's a lot in it. The purpose now is simply as a first read for people to take a look at it. I'm sure there'll be discussions. We can look at it over the summer and then take another look at it again when we meet in the fall. That's it. I don't think a vote is necessary here. It's just a first read.
Can I just,
Yes.
is there discussion?
Yeah, of course, we can discuss it.
So I will confess, I was one of the people who couldn't attend the video presentation, and I haven't yet watched it. But I did look at the Board of Ethics policy. They did have a PowerPoint on the safe harbor policy. And I would just note that it really seemed to apply, according to this PowerPoint, to town officials who are apt to bid on any town contracts. And I don't know that that applies to any one of us. So I'm just raising the concern or the possibility that perhaps, of course, we have to follow the town's code of ethics, but this particular safe harbor policy, I am not sure it's relevant to this board. So I would just put that out there, and I can circulate the PowerPoint in addition to the material that we got on the video if people want to take a look. Thank you.
I mean, I will just say the conflicts of interest are relevant not just in the area of bidding, but in the area of matters where we may be members of boards or entities that may be subject to appropriations by the BET. There are a slew of areas where, a potential conflict could occur. So the idea here is to be expansive and to foresee what do we do if there is a conflict, if somebody has a conflict, what procedures should we put in place and how should we act? But again, this is simply for first read, take a look, read it, and it's really, something we can discuss, approve or not as the fall season comes. Yep.
If I could just offer the reminder that everyone should have filled out any financial conflict form by June 30th and submitted it to Leo if they haven't already done so.
That's also true. Thank you.
May I just ask, have other boards approved this, like the Board of Selectmen?
No, so.
The Board of Education? So this would be
There
like
are
a
other
leader.
boards, there are 2 or 3 other boards that have approved this. I don't remember them off, I think Planning and Zoning and may have, but I'm not.
Let's find out.
I have that information, I can provide it probably before the end of the meeting. The Board of Selectmen has not approved this. They've discussed a conflict policy, but they have not. So that is, whether they should is another question, but they have not.
Thank you.
Now, I guess the next item is approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 22nd, 2026 minutes.
Now second that motion.
Motion has been made by Mr. Fenton and seconded by Ms. Tarkington to approve the June 22nd minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next motion is on the June 24th special meeting minutes.
I'll move approval of the June 24th.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the June 24th minutes of the special meeting. All those in favor
So
signify.
that was the meeting, the Board of Ethics meeting.
It was the what?
Yeah, that is the Board of Ethics meeting, correct. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. My chair's report is short. We've all worked hard through this fiscal year. We've gotten a lot of good work done. We're entering a period of summer, and we'll be not meeting in August, as we all know, but we will be meeting again in September. So my chair's report is I wish everyone on this board and their families a joyous summer break. It's short, but well-deserved, well-earned by everybody.
Okay.
We will go into an executive session, and I think the procedure here is after the executive session, there will be an adjournment of tonight's meeting. So anyone who's on the line or watching should not expect us to continue after the last words we're going to give today. So we're not adjourning, but we need a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we go into executive session.
And I'll second that.
Time is 8:37.
Motion was made and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.